This is called The Psychologist. The psychologist's supposed competence is proudly displayed in frames on his wall. I am sitting on his couch, legs crossed like a good girl. He sits at his desk chair and awaits for my gaze to lift and meet his own. And when I do, he delivers his first question. Have you been considering suicide? I am at the brink of desperation, yes, and I am not dishonest. I answer in the affirmative. Do you know what suicide is, he says? And instead of waiting for my response, he lifts 2 middle fingers toward the ceiling and pushes them toward my face. Suicide is this to your family. As if with those 2 accusatory digits, he could exorcise the demon of depression from my soul, but he did nothing but intensify the shame and self-blame that is reserved for people whose chemical deficits are in their brain, not their liver or pancreas or flowing through their veins. But I did not know this yet, the part about chemical deficits. I still believed that I had committed some unpardonable sin and therefore deserved to have the nonverbal symbol for fuck you flashed in my face by a board-certified neuropsychologist. When you were in graduate school, did they teach you igniting fear and dousing your patients with dripping condescension heals the brain? What happened to you to make you unable to muster 1 ounce of compassion for someone who is hurting and placed in your care? I will never know, but I do know this. Depression is not my fault. Rather, the fault is in my genes, which dictate the complex biochemical ballet in my brain. Yes, serotonin, the key chemical that makes us sane, is not produced in quantities sufficient enough. So no, I am not weak, and my character is not flawed. No, now that I know its limits, my mind is more tough. I know this because I spent a year hospitalized, medicated, debilitated. I tried ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, but nothing lifted me out of my persistent mental misery until one day I met a psychiatrist who offered me a sliver of hope that might keep me from thinking so often of knives and ropes, a new technology most doctors have not yet adopted, but I had no other option, so I opted to get my cheek swabbed for a sample of cells that were sent off to a lab where my DNA was analyzed, and my doctor was advised on the specific psychotropic medication that could alleviate my desperation. The new medications my psychiatrist prescribed renewed my desire to stay alive. Within weeks, I stopped thinking about ropes and knives and instead thought about classes I could take toward a new degree, so I started planning to move to a new city. The genetic test results were quite revealing as they explained the mental anguish I'd been feeling. Yes, the lack of serotonin, only about 20% of the average brain is what my brain can produce, which had resulted in that endless litany of self-abuse. And what's more, in my brain there is an inverse relation between 2 key chemicals, such that the cessation of serotonin results when I am stressed out and cortisol increases, my peace of mind ceases and my mind is in pieces. But the new medications my psychiatrist prescribed based on these results renewed my desire to stay alive. Within weeks, I stopped thinking about ropes and knives. To ensure that horrific year stays in the past, my daily medication regimen is steadfast. I got lucky. Most people suffering don't get that kind of compassionate care. Millions of lives wither under the weight of despair. If I could go back and sit across from that psychologist in his chair, I would look him in the eye and I'd declare, I do not deserve your judgment, your unresolved anger, your spite. Perhaps if you actually read a neuroscience textbook, or at least listened to your patients, you might learn something, that life is hard enough without having to fight your own mind. And as for me, I am not resigned to accept the stigma placed on us by society. With this poem, I might be breaking the rules of propriety, but more doctors need to adopt the genetic testing, and the only way they'll do this is with frequent requesting, coming from patients who demand care with practices with the most up-to-date science, instead of just throwing random pills at people. That old reliance on chance that takes more time and more money than most people can afford. This issue is important, should not be ignored. Whenever I open up and tell someone my story, not once has someone told me this is unfamiliar territory. Woo! Effective mental health care should be a present-day fact, not fiction, for people who are depressive, bipolar, have all kinds of addictions. If you suffer, you might need a prescription. These illnesses are manageable, not permanent afflictions. I used to wonder why my perspective, compared to others, seemed more dull gray. I slogged through the darkness, I just got through the day. I never wanted to die, I just needed to banish those thoughts. My mind was constantly fraught with the negatives that could come from any situation. I believed if I chose the wrong path, I deserved eternal damnation. Finally, all those years of suffering redeemed through consistent persisting. So today, I am living fully, not merely existing.